Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Joel Przgodski, the head football coach at Adrian High School. How's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for having me on. I'm glad we could hook up.
All right. So you just wrapped up your first week of 2 days of the 2023 football season. How did it go?
Oh, it went fast. It went fast. And that, I mean that in the best of ways. I mean, our guys were flying around. They were energetic, coachable. There was a lot of laughing and kind of giggling going on, but in a good way. The kids were having a good time, and we were off the field early every single day, which tells me the kids are working hard.
Yeah. So kind of just talk about this is your second year at Adrian and just really kind of coming in. And I know you had to make a lot of changes, and you brought your entire staff is back this year. So kind of talk about just just getting used to the program and getting to know really them. The kids know you, you know them, you know what to expect out of them. They know what to expect out of you. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last year was a lot of just kind of change for the kids and for the coaching staff. I mean, I retained some of the previous staff, and then we brought in some new guys, and took us a little bit of while to kind of get used to each other because we do things differently than a lot of programs, and not better or worse. It's just we're different, and we're going to continue to be us because it fits our personnel and our staff's coaching style. And once the guys, the staff, and the players got used to it, um, things kind of took off for us. Yeah, we had some ups and downs last year, but it wasn't because of a lack of effort by any means. So, the kids kind of figured that out last fall and even into the winter in our off season with our strength and conditioning program. Coach Ernst does a nice job with that. And that was a new trip for them as well. Being able to hit the ground running this year with vast majority of our players back on both sides of the football, and the entire staff is back. Even though we did make some new hires, we didn't get rid of anybody. So it's nice to inject some new energy into the program, and the kids have taken to it. I mean, they were a true joy to work with this week. I mean, they would run through anything we asked them to right now. I mean, they've been a true joy to work with.
Yeah. Okay. So now it's time to talk about all those kids that you just mentioned. Talk about some of the returners and some of the guys coming back. Let's start with the skill positions at QB, running back, wide receiver, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, Sean Parker's back at quarterback. This will be I believe, his fourth year starting. I don't know if he started all his games as a freshman. I was at a different school at the time, but I know he started quite a few as a freshman, and he started, I believe, every game as a sophomore. Started all 10 games for us last year as a junior and made tremendous strides all season. Threw for just a shade under 2,000 yards, in the first time in our spread offense, which I was very pleased with. And he progressed each and every week. And, we're going to lean on him big time. He's got a true command of our offense. He's got the kids' respect. When he's talking, you could hear a pin drop. No one else is. I mean, everybody drops what they're doing. He's not the most vocal kid, but when he is, everybody's listening to him. So very, very happy with where he's at athletically, but more from a leadership standpoint. Our tailbacks are back. Chase Henline started all 10 games for us last fall. Dante Lester is back for us as well. We're also training another running back, Antonio Brown, who was more of a defensive player last fall. I'm very pleased with where he's at. Those three are going to kind of share the load because all three of them start on defense for us too. And with Chase didn't play much defense last year as our starting tailback as a sophomore. We didn't want to overload him this year. He's put on some muscle mass. He looks the part right now. Very happy with where he's at. And our receiving core are all back minus one kid. Very, very, very excited at the progress they've made. It's night and day from where they were at this point last year. Kind of, again, learning the offense. Now they have control of it, and they're getting open in most of our drills right now. It's going to be fun to see what they do. And Thomas Dayharsh being the big one right now. I mean, he looks the part as a kind of a tight end, and we also flex him out quite a bit. So he's going to be a big piece of our offense, especially on the perimeter.
All right. Now it's the offensive line and the defensive line. Where are we at there?
Yeah, D-line. Or I'm sorry. We'll start with the offensive line. We're bringing all 5 kids back, and I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't know if I've ever been a part of a football program that had all 5 kids coming back from the offensive line where, I mean, yeah, they were all juniors last year, but all 5 of them started all 5 games. And we're definitely going to, lean on them and run the football with a tailback and a quarterback back as well. I mean, they've been moving kids in practice, and they go against, by and large, our starting defensive line. And they had some tremendous battles all week in practice getting after each other, which is fun to see. I mean, we want to be as competitive as we can. And tempers flare up a little bit, but it's nothing that's unexpected in football, and they're just getting after it and they're competing and then they're high-fiving each other right after it, so it's like, okay, it's just about getting that work in and respecting each other. And yeah, it's okay to get it a little bit heated, but as long as it stays at that. And it's fun. They've been a fun group to watch them get after. And that's my dog probably running down here. Nike, what are you doing? So anyways, then the defensive line, we got Jaden Jankowski back at defensive end. He'll play a little bit of linebacker too. He'll be a 4-year starter. Dante Lester's back as a nose guard. He's, he doesn't look like much in terms of his stature. He's a little bit on the shorter end, but I tell you what, he is fast off the ball, and he is one strong young man. I mean, he in the weight room, he's throwing weights all over the place. I'm very happy to see his progress, and I think he's going to be a pain in the neck for offensive lines for sure.
All right. Linebackers and secondary, where we at there?
Linebackers, we bring back 2 of our 3 starters last year. Antonio Brown, who was a sophomore, was our defensive MVP as our will linebacker. He's back. Chase Cowan played Sam linebacker, and they kind of share duties. They can flip sides and play the both. So we're not too concerned about that. Our starting middle linebacker, Elijah Terrell, graduated last fall, or this past season, I should say, last fall, this spring, really. He graduated. So Chase Henline's going to step right on in there. We won't miss a beat. Elijah did a phenomenal job for us. Chase Henline's just a plug and play player. He's, it looks like he's been playing for 3 years there at linebacker already, even though he didn't play it down last year at linebacker for us. So very pleased with that. We have some depth players who are going to play behind those kids too, who are going to see the field for us. So, excited about them. They're all athletic. They can run, they make plays in space, and, they're a problem for other teams. They're going to be just with their speed. I mean, if you watch them on film, you don't really see how fast they are. You see them in person, you're like, okay, those kids are scooting. We're going to be all right there. Defensive back wise, we returned Caden Pfeiffer at one corner, and we returned both safeties. Tristan Hayes started, I believe, all 10 games, and Thomas Dayharsh / Carson DeKaiser are going to kind of share that other safety spot. So it'll be a little bit of a rotation because they all play on offense too. So we're not just going to play them every single snap, even though some of them are in shape for it already. We're going to kind of ease the load. And then we kind of have a little position battle at the other corner spot going on right now between junior Lucas Helt, who's been a great, had to put a great summer in, good hard worker, and sophomore Zach Hassan is also kind of elevated his game as well. So it's kind of, those two are kind of duking it out still, and it's been fun to watch them improve every day and push each other, quite frankly.
Absolutely. Special teams.
Special teams, we bring back, I've been saying a lot, we bring back everybody. Both long snappers, short snappers. Our kicker is back, our place kicker, our kickoff guy is back, and both of our punters are back. I guess that's one of the kind of drawbacks or positives if you play a lot of young kids the year before. We played a lot of juniors and sophomores last year. So, yeah, you take your lumps doing that, but they're all back the following year. So it's kind of like, that's how you're able to kind of expedite their progress when you can play them that fast. So Zach Hassan did a phenomenal job kicking off for us last fall, and he's also our place kicker. Carson DeKaiser is a very good punter for us. And then Chase Henline and Thomas Dayharsh are our long snappers, and they get the ball back there fast, and they're the first ones down on coverage, which is always nice.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked about the kids. Now let's go to the schedule. Of course, let's starting in. I'll just read this off. You start off the 25th, home against Pioneer, August 31st at Three Rivers, September 8th. Then you start league play with Ypsi Community, September 15th, home against Tecumseh, September 22nd at Chelsea, September 29th, home against Jackson, October 6th, home against Pinckney, October 13th, home against Fowlerville, and finishing off the regular season, October 20th at Flint Kearsley. So pretty good schedule. A lot of non-conference opponents as well. So kind of just talk about the schedule for a minute.
Yeah, with the SEC White having a couple fewer teams in the SEC Red, I don't remember the exact number. I coached in the Red, and I still don't know the exact number. That leads to more non-conference games for the white schools, which is nice. I like it. I like being able to control my schedule and see other opponents. It's also can be difficult at times too to find games and find competitive games. We fielded a lot of phone calls, and I don't know if that's good or bad, from opponents wanting to play us. And, quite frankly, if you aren't a Division IV or higher school, we're not going to play you. And, that's just kind of how the new playoff model works. We're looking to get more playoff points. So we're going to play up. So that's why we went ahead and scheduled an Ann Arbor Pioneer, who's a Division I school. They have almost 3 times our enrollment. We're going to play them. And I think it's a good test for us. They'll be extremely athletic. We signed a 2-year deal with them, so luckily they're coming to us this first year. I coached enough games in Ann Arbor. It's a tough place to play at times, so they can come play us. We'll go play them the next fall, and that's fine with us. Then we have a nice road trip out at Three Rivers. I don't know a whole lot about them. We didn't play them last fall. They play in a tough conference, and I know they have a new coach. And we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I don't know what's going to change from what they did last year, so I don't really have a whole lot of information on them outside of who they return player wise, but they could have a scheme change. So we won't know that until we get their scrimmage film next week. But they'll be tough. They always have tough kids out on the west side of the state. It's a different brand of football. I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it, but west side ball is it's different.
Yes, it is.
And it is weird. And again, I don't know why. I mean, we play really good football over here on the east side of the state too, but it's I don't know. It's different. So excited about that challenge. I'll get to the conference in a minute. And then we end the year. We're home against Fowlerville, which again, another non-conference opponent. Don't know anything about them really. They have a new coach, but I think they hired from within.
Yes.
And, I don't think they'll be much different than what they've been doing. There might be a few tweaks here or there, but again, they play in a tough that like Capital Areas Conference, I believe. So they're playing half.
CAAC.
Yep. So they play good football out there. So I know that'll be a good tough kind of home closer for us. That's our last regular season home game. And then we make the nice road trip up to Flint Kearsley. So, which again, shockingly, another new head coach. We're playing like 3 schools that have new head coaches. And we signed all of these contracts before they had their new head coach. We're not really sure what we're getting ourselves into. That could be really good or really bad for us. Who knows? But they're athletic. They play good football out there too. That'll be a nice little challenge going into the playoffs with a nice little road trip to boot for it. So, we'll kind of end the season with the Hornets out there. And then our conference schedule, I mean, the SEC White's a tough conference. I don't care what anybody says. Sometimes the records don't add up, but it's good football. They're good coaches. They know what they're doing. You got a game plan. Your kids got to play ball each and every week. Going to Ypsilanti, Dan Brown does a nice job. He's got a good staff out there, and they got good looking kids who are just athletic and they cause problems for you. And we like our chances in that game. But again, it's a road trip, first conference game. Who knows what's going to happen, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Week 4, a red letter date, everybody's been asking, oh, what's the Tecumseh game going to be like? I was like, well, we'll get to that game when we get to that game. I don't think Coach Dolson probably doesn't have to amp his kids up any more than I have to amp my kids up. They'll just, it's good, clean, physical football. The 2 schools don't really like each other. There's respect there. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of respect, but there's still that, that crosstown rivalry mentality, us versus them kind of feel to it. So, yeah. It's not very hard to get the kids motivated for that game. And I'm sure Greg would say the exact same thing. It's like, hey, we respect each other. We don't like each other that week, but it'll be a fun environment. And I'm glad it's down at our place because that was hard playing there last year. It was a cool environment. It was an awesome football game, but it's playing at Tecumseh is a tough place to play. And we feel Maple Stadium's the same way. So luckily the shoe's on the other, on the other foot this year, so they can come down and play us. Going to Chelsea, they're always tough. Coach Lucas does a nice job. I know they had a little bit of a down year and they still made the playoffs. So, that program just continues to roll and they're a handful each and every year. And we end with Jackson at our place and then Pinckney at our place for, I think Pinckney's a homecoming game, but, good football. I mean, Jackson, we lost a tough one close last year down to the wire. We were down, I think 6. We just couldn't find a way to get in the end zone late in the game. And Pinckney, we played really well up at their place last year, but Coach Carpenter will have his kids ready to go, kind of second year for his program. So I'm sure he'll have his kids motivated. So I like our schedule. It's tough. There's nothing easy about it. It's not like you can just go ahead and circle wins on there. I mean, it's not, we're not in that position as a program and we don't play anybody on our schedule who we can say, yeah, we can just show up and we're going to beat them. We're going to have to focus. We're going to have to put a game plan, have good weeks of practice and execute the game plan at the end of the day. And, I like our chances in a lot of those games, but we still got to come to play.
Absolutely. All right. So with this week at 2-a-days over, what happens in this next week? Of course, you have 3 days of practice. Then it's on Thursday. It's a happy scrimmage day to everybody. Yeah. And then of course, rounding it out on Friday before you get ready for that first week. So really, what is next week going to be a pull? Of course, a lot of inter squad scrimmages on Saturday. So where are we at in these next few days?
Yeah, and I know a lot of schools do inter squad scrimmages, and I think that's fantastic. We don't do one. We just treat it as another practice day, and it's not a 2-a-day for us. We're going to kind of start tapering off and saving the kids' legs a little bit. So we'll get after it for about 2 hours tomorrow. Nothing too crazy. We're not going to bang just to bang because we can, it's full pads. That's great. We're not going to do it. we're going to just refresh our kids, and then we'll do a short yoga session on Sunday just to kind of, lighten their legs up a little bit and kind of get a good stretch for them. Monday for us, just again, we're just going to practice once. We're going to start kind of getting into that weekly game model for our kids, so they get used to that scheduling, where it'll be an easy-ish day in terms of the time and the intensity of the practice, more of a mental practice, and just kind of focus on what we need to do to kind of tighten up our ends and set our depth charts for our scrimmage on Thursday, which is out at Jackson Northwest High School. So, and it's always fun to go scrimmage. I love scrimmage day, but I also dread it at the same time, because it's every year. It's either I've experienced it or one of my good friends experiences it. Somebody you don't want to get hurt somehow gets hurt. And, you want to get out there, you want to be physical, you want to get film on kids so you can evaluate them and see what you have. But you also want to make sure you get to week 1. And so you have all your kids. So we've been very fortunate at Adrian last year, and even so far this week, we don't really get a lot of kids hurt. We practice safe, and we're physical, don't get me wrong. But we do it in a very safe, close space where we really limit that contact, where injuries can kind of creep up on kids. And we've been fortunate. Maybe we've been lucky. I don't know. Maybe it's because the way we practice. I don't know. Hopefully it's the way we practice that keeps us there, and it's not luck where, now the injury bug will bite us. But, I'm excited at the opportunity to compete with another school next week, but we're also going to be very safe and, protect our kids and make it to Pioneer Week.
All right. Joel, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and best of luck to the Maples this season.
I appreciate it. Thanks again for having us on. Go Maples.